the Cowboys had a basketball game that went the Cowboy basketball way. And is it too early to be ranking Big 12 quarterbacks? The answer is yes, at least for some people. We're going to break this thing off right today, just like Gunnar Gundy broke the Alabama internet. Gunnar Gundy did do that, and it was glorious to watch.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Today, we're partially brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment matter more with FanDuel, because today, our new customers get 150 bones back in bonus bets. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Place that $5 bet today. Alabama. Booty hurt fans, you can calm down a little bit. This is not clickbait by any stretch. Gunnar Gundy is not going to be part of the Alabama Crimson Tide. But Gunnar Gundy is, in fact, on the transfer portal market once again. I don't necessarily find this to be anything other than a little bit of a common sense scenario, right? It does make some sense that Gunnar Gundy gets to Ohio, right? All right, Pops, let's pack my backpacks. Let's get to Ohio. I get to Ohio, unpack my backpack just to realize, well, I'd rather be back home. Now, Gunnar Gundy did, on top of Ohio, he did have some legitimate interest and offers from Indiana State, Elon, Duquesne, Abilene Christian, amongst others, including like Eastern Washington. He would have been the dude at Ohio or Indiana State, Duquesne, Abilene Christian, or Elon. But he also realized that being a backup at a Power 5 can get me to the goals that I want to still accomplish. Being a backup at a Power 5 that should very well be holding a Big 12 title at the end of the 2024 season is probably better than being the dude for some people at an Indiana State or an Elon or a Duquesne. That's not a knock on those programs by any stretch, just like it's not a knock on the fact that Gunnar Gundy has the talent to start at all of those places, hands down. But he was already a walk-on, right? Financially, he doesn't count against the numbers. We know numerically we're in a little bit of a slightly precarious position at the moment. He doesn't count against that. He doesn't hurt to have back in the locker room. So I don't know anybody in the locker room that's going to have an issue with Gunnar Gundy coming back to Stillwater, Oklahoma to be a Cowboy and then to take whatever role he has this season in a backup capacity, of course, to take that to then being a GA immediately after. It does make sense. Now, I think a lot of us in Oklahoma State country were actually very, very excited to watch Gunnar Gundy in an Ohio Bobcat uniform doing the daggone thing, because he's good enough to do the thing, especially at that level. He would have been phenomenal to watch. He would have been the guy. But I understand everything that he's always wanted to do was to play for his dad in Stillwater. He accomplished that. Whenever he did that, I don't think he ever thought he'd have the opportunity to get a start. Well, he did that, and he got a start, and it wasn't bad. Now, his throws aren't the same as Garrett Rangel's. They're not the same as Alan Bowman's. but he's a gamer, right? He's a Tim Tebow style of guy. And as you saw in the bowl game, we could sprinkle in some Gunnar Gundy packages and be just fine. Now, I would assume those Gunnar Gundy packages will still be going to more of a Zane Flores style of look in the 2024 season. But this is a good thing because it doesn't count against the numbers. He knows the offense. He knows the lay of the land in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He knows that he's going to have the opportunity after this season to take some sort of GA role somewhere, even if it's not in Stillwater. He also knows that 2024 should be an epic season in Oklahoma State history. So why not be a part of that run? Why not be a part of holding the trophies? Could you go win a MAC title? Yes, you could. But I actually appreciate what Gunnar Gundy may be looking at here. He packed his bags. He enrolled. He made the trip. He got to Ohio. It just wasn't what he thought he was getting into. And then the more time he had to think about it, the more it made sense to just do my daggone thing back home. Even if I hold a clipboard, I'm going to miss out on this wild ride. If Oklahoma State does, in fact, go back to Arlington in 2024, and they do, in fact, let's say, win in Arlington in 2024, that's an epic ride. That's a ride that he's only experienced as a child. In 2011, he's a kid. The last time we hoisted a Big 12 title trophy, he was a kid. I don't think Gunnar Gundy necessarily cares or not if he's the quarterback absolutely responsible for holding up the next Big 12 trophy. I just think Gunnar Gundy's been so immersed in the ride at Oklahoma State, and he has busted his hump to improve from a 5-flat 40 to a 4-6 40, to put on 15, 18, 17 pounds, to learn the playbook front, back, and center, to do an entire year of just being a student, getting bigger, stronger, and faster without having access to all the football facilities and all the football stuff that you get. He did do all that at Oklahoma State. So if you've already been through all that, why not experience the ride that is to be 2024? And if a lot of other, if we would have had the same situation this season as we did last offseason, where we lost 22, 25, 26 guys, then, 2024 for Oklahoma State, it appears to be just another regular season. But that's not what happened. Oklahoma State's legit returning like 90% of a roster. They're legit returning 20, 21 and a 20 and a half, almost 21 style of returning starters. Oklahoma State should be back in Arlington, and it could look a lot like 2011. We could just beat the absolute dog tar at a half the schedule. That could happen, which means he could get some more packaging, some more features, playing time wise. Another trip back to Arlington, this time with some retribution on the mind. I appreciate Gunnar Gundy getting to Ohio and realizing I'm going to miss out on too much. I ain't got a problem with it. And, where we set at quarterback right now is really, really good with or without Gunnar Gundy. Adding Gunnar Gundy just makes it better. Even if Gunnar Gundy is your third string guy, fourth string guy, ninth string guy, it doesn't matter. He's beneficial to Oklahoma State. Legacies are beneficial. Yeah, I got a little bit of I'm going to save that for tomorrow's episode. Okay? I'm also going to save you from potentially missing out on some dollar bill opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. FanDuel is the bee's knees. I know you know it. I also know that right now, new customers are getting $150 back in bonus bets. All you got to do is bet. It's guaranteed. Place a $5 bet and bada boom, bada bing, bada bang. You get your $150 back in bonus bets whether you win or lose. You also know the app is safe, secure, super easy to use. Got a wide variety of things to bet on. Over, under, parlays, who's going to win the national championship, the Heisman, the Super Bowl, and more. The NFL regular season action was fun. The playoff action is better. Make your next bet your best bet with FanDuel today by going to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now because FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Is it too early to be ranking Big 12 quarterbacks? Well, the overarching answer is going to be yeah, of course. But it's even more so too early if you've never watched Big 12 football. Ladies and gentlemen, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, they were not in the Big 12 last year. But what did most of us in Big 12 country do, I would assume? Most of us watched a lot of those teams' games because we were already ready to welcome them into the Big 12. So we wanted to get on board with the fun, fuzzy feeling of cheering on our future brethren. So a lot of us watched a lot of Utah and Arizona and Arizona State and Colorado games this year. The same cannot be said for West Coast college football. Thank you for leaving us this gem. I would almost say sorry, but I'm not sorry because you put it out there and over 400,000 people have viewed the daggone thing. So you put it out there. The 2024 ranking of the Big 12 quarterbacks. And oh my Lanta. Not only is this just too early in general, but it's also too early because there's dudes on the list that might not even be the best quarterback on their roster. There's dudes on this list that might not be the quarterback that is taking the snaps when the season begins post-spring. So let's go over this list, all right? Now, being in the West Coast journalism seems to be dying off, and we witnessed that with how many West Coast media types that have 20 years in the game were saying that this is all smoke. Don't listen to the Big 12 and on people. The Pac-12's not breaking up. It's not happening. They're not going anywhere, yada, yada, yada. I'm assuming it's these same people that maybe need to get in touch with the game of foosball out in the West Coast. So number one for West Coast college football, verified on Twitter, number one, Shedeur Sanders. We're just going to read the list and then we'll cover it. Number two, Noah Fafita from Arizona. Number three, Cam Rising from Utah. Number four, Jalen Daniels from KU. Number five, KJ Jefferson from UCF. Number six, Rocco Beck, Iowa State. Number seven, Garrett Green, West Virginia. Number eight, Avery Johnson, K-State. Number nine, DeQuan Finn, Baylor. Number 10, Donovan Smith, Houston. Number 11, Josh Hoover, TCU. 12, Jaden Rashada, Arizona State. 13, Brennan Sorsby, Cincinnati. 14, Alan Bowman, Oklahoma State. Number 15, Behren Morton, Texas Tech. Number 16, back in the Big 12, Jerry Bohannon. All right, let's just start at the top. If you want to make an argument that Shedeur Sanders is at the top, you can make that argument. I'm okay with that. If you want to make the argument that Noah Fafita should be above Spencer or Shedeur Sanders at the top spot, I'm okay with that. If you want to say that Cam Rising has proven to be more of a commodity than Shedeur Sanders and Noah Fafita, I'm cool with that. If you want to say that Jalen Daniels is better than all three of those guys when he's healthy, I would definitely agree with that. KJ Jefferson at 5 is where this whole madness begins. UCF, I mean, they beat us. They made a bowl game. So out of the new bullies of the group, yeah, okay, good on you, UCF. And good on you for basketball taking down Texas. Charge on for that one. But no. KJ Jefferson is not going to be the fifth best quarterback in the Big 12. He had one pretty daggone decent year with Harkey, and then the wheels kind of fell off, and they fell off before Arkansas as well. So KJ Jefferson's going to have to do a lot to even sniff top 5 best quarterbacks in the Big 12 next year. And where does it? I don't. No. Rocco Beck, number 6. Rocco Beck is really pretty good. Developmentally, he got better progressively the season went on, and that's precisely what you want out of a quarterback. He was a freshman. He was young. He was going to have growing pains. He had some of those too. Do you expect him to get better his sophomore year? Well, you don't always expect that. There's a thing as a sophomore slump that happens, unfortunately, quite often. He should be better, but we don't know. Is he the best freshman of the group? Yeah. Is he 6th best in the conference? I don't think so. Garrett Green, he's got wheels for days. But is he head and shoulders better than Nico Marchiol? Maybe not. Avery Johnson, is he head and shoulders better than Will Howard? Probably not. Did we get a decent little chunk of Avery Anderson? Yes, we did. Is he good enough to be in the top 5? I think he probably is. But come on now. What are we doing? Because after Avery Johnson, it gets even more crazy. Now, DeQuan Finn, if you haven't seen DeQuan Finn film, Baylor did get a steal here. And I do think that the Tulsa Union High School, Oklahoma native that I got to play against, Jake Spavital taking over as offensive coordinator at Baylor is going to be huge. And I think Jake Spavital landing DeQuan Finn is even bigger. I think he'll beat out Sawyer Robertson. I do. He's that good. So him being somewhat high on this list for being an unknown, I can kind of get it, but it doesn't necessarily make sense, right? With the returning guys you have coming. Josh Hoover, TCU, he was all right, but what is a decent quarterback on a really not so great football team with a really not so great record going to magically transform into without any knowledge? I don't know. Is Brendan Sorsby coming over from Indiana automatically better than Alan Bowman, who just had his team in the Big 12 title game? And here's the deal, y'all. You know that I'm not the biggest Alan Bowman guy in the world. But is Josh Hoover really going to be the best quarterback on the roster at TCU? They got Seals, who started a couple years at Vandy. I know Vandy's not the cream of the crop in college football, but it's still Power 5 SEC football. He still started a lot, and his dream growing up was to play for TCU. So he's good enough talent-wise to maybe beat out Josh Hoover. He's got the backing of this TCU team means more to me than most everybody else on the roster. Plus, I think getting Will Hammond was a big deal for Texas Tech. But I think Hoss Haney's even better than Will Hammond. And now Hoss Haney's at TCU. So I don't even know that Hoover is going to start most of the season. Jaden Rashada, he did pretty good at times, but he showed his freshman way more than Rocco Beck, way more than Avery Johnson. But he's above Alan Bowman here. Then you have Behren Morton, followed by Jerry Bohannon. Jerry Bohannon being last on the list. Okay, he didn't do a crap ton at South Florida. Matter of fact, he lost his job after leaving Baylor. Back so fast, I'm like the Flash. Or my hands get way too animated. Sorry about that. Anywho, Jaden Rashada did pretty good, but Arizona State's going to have some things they still need to fine-tune. Alan Bowman isn't even actually my biggest complaint on this list. I mean, Alan Bowman has no business being number 14 on this list. Is Alan Bowman an NFL guy? No. Is Alan Bowman surefire, guaranteed the best quarterback on the Oklahoma State roster? No. But Behren Morton, number 15, tells me you've never watched Behren Morton play the game of football. That tells me you didn't watch Texas Tech play this year. Alan Bowman dropped more than enough dimes to be top 7 on this list. So you obviously didn't watch a lot of Alan Bowman this season. You didn't watch any of Texas Tech or Behren Morton. You can put Jerry Bohannon down here because Jerry Bohannon didn't get to play last year enough at UCF. But Garrett Green, as a true freshman, was getting there. Last year, we saw another level of maturation. But Nico Markill's pretty good. And Garrett Green was not better than Alan Bowman this season. Avery Johnson didn't get to do enough to say he was better than Alan Bowman this season. If you want to chastise Texas Tech because they didn't win a lot, you didn't watch enough games to know that wasn't when Behren Morton was typically playing. A healthy Behren Morton is way up this list. Josh Hoover is going to have so much competition, I don't even know if he'll be the starter. So he should be further down this list, as should Jaden Rashada, who doesn't have enough guys with him to help him climb up this list from already being at the bottom. There's arguments for Noah Fafita and Jalen Daniels and Cam Rising and Shador Sanders at the top, just like there's argument for Alan Bowman to be at the top, because winning games has to matter too. I'm not a massive Bowman guy, but it's massively ridiculous to pretend that Alan Bowman shouldn't be significantly higher on this list. So West Coast college football, you put it out, okay? You obviously need to put more time into watching other teams play. There's no way you can even argue or pretend to argue that you made this list before watching any Big 12 football. The only Big 12 football that you watched were the guys you have at the top of the list: Colorado, Arizona, and Utah. I'm just glad that we could be here to set the record straight. Again, Josh Hoover might not be the best quarterback at TCU. Alan Bowman might not be the best quarterback at Oklahoma State. But they're both way better than this. I do appreciate where they put DeQuan Finn, because it does give people now a reason to go do some research. And I do implore you to do some research in DeQuan Finn. He is that good. And with the combination of Jake Spavital, Baylor should now be a bowl team. I'm not going to say they're going to be great, but just those two things, new OC and this QB, should have them in a bowl game. It's not a consolation prize if you put up a lot of stats and don't make a bowl game. Just like it's not a consolation prize when you are up by 17 and you lose the basketball game. It's the most Cowboy thing for a Cowboy game to happen. Up by 17. And then you let the former Cowboy, Avery Anderson, come in with his new TCU squad and drop 15 on us. I love changing up the roster. I think John Michael Wright clearly is more comfortable starting than coming off the bench. Although him coming off the bench wasn't bad. Clearly, Eric Daly Jr. is better off the bench. Connor Dow's a pretty good spot 3-and-D guy. But what is the same issue? We go 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Well, now this time, 5 minutes and 37 seconds without scoring a basket. It's not losing that's bothersome. It's the way we lose, and the fact that we lose this way over and over and over. The definition of insanity is, say it for me now. Because I said a couple games ago, if we have 3 more performances like this, Mike Boynton all but has his April Fool's Day walking papers. Well, that was 2 games ago. We got 1 more. But I don't even think we need that 1 more. Because I'll tell you this. I don't speak for everybody in O State Nation by any stretch. But I do know that there's not a huge number that will watch all of the men's games or listen to every men's game, every women's game. The only sport that I do not either listen to every minute of or watch every minute of is tennis. And golf, obviously, they don't really play it on 93.7 or 105.5 like they do basketball, wrestling, and football. But I'm telling you now, last night's game is the first time in years that I have willingly, purposely turned off the game way before it was over. And I turned it back on because I felt bad. Like I was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, Cody. So I tuned back in, turned it back on. And then I was just a glutton for punishment. But again, I don't speak for everybody, but I can say that there's not an exorbitant number of people that will sit in their car for 3-4 hours listening to wrestling matches and cross-country meets to get updates. I gladly do that. I'll sit in my car and listen to whatever other than tennis for hours and be super happy. If I can't watch it, I will listen to every millisecond and love every second of it. I turned it off yesterday. And I went outside and I was hooting and hollering. And then I was like, yeah, what? No, dang it, Cody. Don't do that. I went back in, turned it back on. And it wasn't an enjoyable experience. But if I'm turning it off, and I will go sit in my car today and listen to every millisecond of the pregame Cowgirls show, the entire game, and the postgame Cowgirls show afterwards. And I'll do it again for the next men's basketball game. But I don't need to watch no more men's basketball. From here on out, I can just listen to 93.7 and be fine. Because if I keep watching that, I'm going to break my daggone TV. And I've maybe done that a time or two, okay? Maybe not. I don't want to do that. I don't want to break this TV. I don't. I kind of like it. I bought Peacock to watch the Steelers. I still am excited to see the Lions and Malcolm do some things. Justice Hill had a great game. That was fun. The Ravens look like they're on their way to a Super Bowl, because I don't know if the Niners are all that great. But what I do know is the Cowgirls maybe can make it right tonight, as they should beat Cincinnati on the road in Ohio. They should be AW. The Bearcats are 1-5 in Big 12 play, and they're hovering right around 500 overall. This should be a win. So Jacie Hoyt and the Cowgirls hopefully can do what Mike Boynton has been unable to do, which is to get it done in the games you're supposed to get it done. Now, even though this season we're in dead last place in the conference, so technically not every game is supposed to get it done, but we should win some of these games at this point in time. Men's basketball, we're just hooting and hollering and cheering on a Bedlam W. At least give us that. If we only win 2 conference games, please let it be Bedlam in Texas. I don't even care if we beat KU. I care about women's basketball because it's exciting. I care about baseball because it's coming. I care about softball because it's a coming. But I don't care to watch men's basketball anymore. And I can count on one hand how many times I've said that in my entire life. I don't speak for everybody, but I know that if I'm not even willing to watch anything, then there's a large portion of the fan base that is 100% done with Mike Boynton, and they want his bats packed tonight status. And they'll be happy if Jacie Hoyt takes over for the men's basketball program. Not even lying. Made a joke about it last week. Some people are ready for it to happen. All right, y'all. You know I love you. That's all we're going to have for this one. As always, God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen. Later, taters.